So let's talk about where the planets are, okay? Right now, the sun is at 24 degrees of Scorpio, and Mercury is at 29 degrees of Scorpio. And Venus has just moved into Sagittarius. It's at 1 degree of Sagittarius. And I want to say this about that Sagittarius Venus. Okay, Venus in Sagittarius is what I call the poly. It's the poly Venus. So there's a lot of poly that goes on with Venus in Sagittarius. They're very open-minded when it comes to love and romance and sex. And so you might see a little bit more of that at this time. It just saying it could definitely be so. And this is strange, but Jupiter is actually making just a little bit of a weird trine to Venus, because Jupiter, although it's at 28 degrees of Pisces, it's retrograding out of Aries, right? So it's technically like a minute away from 1 degree of Aries. It's trine Venus. So Jupiter trine Venus is really positive. That's two beneficial planets making a harmonious aspect to each other, even though they're in weird signs. It's still happening. So take advantage of this. And um, Mercury is exactly trine Jupiter. Mercury at 29 degrees and 34 minutes of Scorpio is trine Jupiter at 28 degrees and 52 minutes of Pisces. So that's great. I think it's good for communication. So I think this is a great day for me to come and catch up on all of the readings that I owe to signs. I know Gemini, I owe you guys because I have not barely touched Gemini. I think I've only done you once, and it's already the 16th of the month. Also, let's see, we've got the moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. Okay. Okay, hold everything. So remember I mentioned Mercury at 29 degrees of Scorpio? Well, that's basically 0 degrees of Sagittarius. It is. I mean, it's 26 minutes away, but it's still basically 0 degrees of Sagittarius. And the moon at 0 degrees of Virgo means there's a square. So some Virgos and some Saggies, I just watch, I don't know why. I feel like there could be some communication. Someone gets into the fight. Someone wants to be right because Moon and Virgo wants to be right. And then, Mercury at a fate degree, 29 degrees is a fate degree, by the way. And almost in Sagittarius, they want to be right. And that could get really ugly. Venus, I think at 1 degree of Sag is going to help the Sagittarius a little bit. Maybe just to back off, back away from the argument. Okay, Virgos, Saggies, quit it. Okay, quit it right now. Okay, we've got Mars at 23 degrees of Gemini, and that's making an inconjunct to the sun. It's really a creative aspect when the sun and Mars are in conjunct, because I just feel like Mars and the sun like to hang out together. They're both represent fire signs. And so I just feel like this is a really nice in conjunction. Creativity. If you've been wanting to make something, create something, I don't know, finish your course or something like that, right? Make a dress, I don't know. If this is a really creative time, I would do it. Also Jupiter is trying the sun, by the way. Jupiter is, even though it's wide, well, I don't know. It's kind of wide. It's 5 degrees away, but Mars and Jupiter are kind of in a square. They're both retrograding. But that is a little bit of friction there. But Jupiter is technically trine the sun, and that is great. Okay, you guys. I don't know what's going on for everybody. I will just say this. This is a great time, at least over the next few days. if you got something you really want to do, some kind of dream, some kind of desire, a business, a goal, anything, anything. When Jupiter is trying the sun, that's like the ultimate in harmonious aspects. Because Jupiter is the most positive, and the sun, well, it's the sun. It's a luminary. So I mean, this trine is beautiful, and oh, I love it. Okay, so take advantage of it. I definitely am. I've got a lot of stuff. I'm just going to try to pack it all in to these couple of days while Jupiter is trying the sun. Okay. Saturn is at 19 degrees of Aquarius, and it's technically, I guess, well, I don't know. I'm not going to give it because Mars is retrograding and it's making a wide trine to Mars, but it's separating. I guess it's still there. It's 4 degrees away. But you know, we've had Saturn trine Mars now for a couple of a few weeks, actually, I think. So I don't know how you've taken advantage of that, but again, I sense creativity there. I know for myself, I'm gonna tell you and be honest how it's manifested in my life. I've been so lazy, y'all. And I think it's because this Mars is now, it's I think it's is in my fifth house. It's just about to go into my sixth house, but it's retrograding, so it's going back into my fifth house. Look, Mars in the fifth house makes you so lazy. I don't know if anyone else has Mars in the fifth house. Just by transit, when it's in Gemini in my fifth house, all I want to do is have fun, watch Netflix, play. I don't want to really do anything. And I think with Saturn being in my first house, it's really been hard. It's been hard, okay? Because I know there's things I have to do, and it's been really hard to motivate myself. Sometimes squares are good because squares cause stress and they cause action and they cause us to get off our butt and do stuff. And yeah, and Mars is usually action, right? Mars is our action, but when it's harmonious like that, and all it makes you want to do is eat casseroles and, watch Netflix, you gain weight and everything else. So just be careful. Depends on where these planets are falling in your chart. And also, it doesn't help that Jupiter is trying the sun and trying Venus. Oh, no, excuse me. Yeah, it's still technically trying Venus. I think this Jupiter trine Venus, I know, I mean, I can feel it and I can see it on my face. There's just a roundness to me. And this is Jupiter trine Venus. Jupiter trine Venus, trying the sun, because the sun and Mercury and Venus were all together thinking about food, cooking food. I made so many little biscuits. Now I'm gluten free, so I've been playing around with gluten free biscuits and gluten free flatbreads and gluten free cheesy rolls, and I just like this has got to stop. Now we've got Uranus at 16 degrees of Taurus, and it's kind of out of any type of bad aspect to the sun or Mercury or anything like that anymore. So that's good. But it is still technically square Saturn at 19 degrees of Aquarius. And I've talked about that Uranus square with Saturn. I mean, it's been going pinging back and forth for months. It's an ugly square. It's weirdness. There's just this weird undercurrent of weirdness that's been happening ever since Saturn starts squaring Uranus, whether it's all the weird diseases that keep coming out, strange new things they're finding, like we're going through a recession. I mean, there's all this weird stuff happening while Uranus is square Saturn, because Uranus rules Aquarius. So it's squaring its own ruler. The ruler is squaring its own home, right? It wants to go home and party with Saturn. It's what it's used to doing. So the square doesn't feel good. And it could be affecting people in weird ways. Now, I know for myself, I've been very lazy. I got diagnosed with weird medical conditions because the Saturn's in my first house. But it's, it's weird. I just want people to be aware of it. I mention it all the time. Okay, we've got Neptune at 22 degrees of Pisces. It's retrograding. It's been in Pisces for ages. But the reason I want to bring it up is because this Neptune at 22 degrees of Pisces is exactly square Mars at 23 degrees in Gemini. Okay, so Neptune is square Mars. I told you that Mars was weird. That Mars is weird. It is, just so that you know, that Gemini Mars at 23 degrees. It makes me lazy, but this square with Neptune, I think it's like I told a guy today I felt like I was dealing with brain fog. And I don't know how many other people out there. I haven't even looked to see if anyone's making any comments. If anyone, oh yeah, Cabrina Gatson said she wants a reading. Cabrina, I will make sure you get a reading, okay? I make sure you get one. And I'll do your reading as soon as I finish talking about the planets, okay? Because I don't want to make you wait forever. But yeah, brain fog, okay? Some people may be dealing with brain fog, and this might be why this weird square between Mars and Neptune creating the brain fog. They're both retrograding. So there's a time to reevaluate, redo, rethink, renew, all of that stuff mentally. I think it's all about even in our dreams, right? Because it's weird actions too, because it's Neptune. So there's confusion. There could be confusion in action. So there's all of that happening. Also, we've got Pluto at 26 degrees of Capricorn, and that Pluto is making a lovely sextile to the sun and a lovely sextile to Mercury, which is great. And Pluto is direct now, so there's really positive, lots of power. I feel like some people, maybe Capricorn, some Scorpios, and I think overall, I feel like there's a sense of power now that the sun is making this beautiful sextile and Pluto's finally direct. And I think it's the first sextile since it's going direct. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful time. Take advantage of it. We only have a few days. The sun's at 24 degrees and 42 minutes of Scorpio, and we've got just a few days because Pluto's at 26 degrees. So, I'm going to, I don't want to say the word relish, but I'm definitely going to dive deep into this Pluto sextile the sun and soak it up for all we got this last week that the sun is in Scorpio. Okay, Capricorns, Scorpios, Tauruses, Pisces, Cancers, you hear me, even Virgos. Okay, it's our time. So do what you got to do over the next week, because whatever we do over the next week, I think is going to be killer. It's just going to, gorgeousness. The North Node is at 13 degrees of Taurus, and it's kind of not making any real connections. I mean, it's still in a connection with Uranus. Uranus at 16 degrees of Taurus. And it's retrograding, see? So it's going back toward the exact conjunction with the North Node, which is actually direct right now, very rare. So it's kind of a strange time. It could be a good time to pursue goals or things that you felt like were out of reach, but this might be a good time for you to go and pursue them. And finally, we've got Chiron at 12 degrees of Aries. It's retrograding. It's not making any major aspects that are a problem right now, which is great. And so Aries, you got the green light on that. And with Venus in Sagittarius, I think some fire signs are, really getting a little brief reprieve, okay? So anyway, this has been Adrienne. This has been Where the Planets Are. And we have discussed where the planets are.
Astrology, a look inside. Presenting astrology and tarot readings for all.